Hey, this is Kevin from Kevin's Barbecue Joints, and in this episode I talked to Aaron Siegel from Hometeam BBQ. They're celebrating their 20-year anniversary of the West Ashley location, their first location. We talk about that location as well as all of the other locations, all the charitable work that they do, as well as go into depth about their menu and a million other things. I can't thank Aaron enough for taking the time. You're truly going to love this.
Since we're talking about barbecue, I like a fat soaked piece of butcher paper, and that's what we are. And so when we go somewhere, we kind of try to put our culture in there as much as we can, much of an influence on people, even if it's people that have worked in our other places before that we're able to give promotions to. But and then the community kind of takes the ball and runs with it. Everybody uses us for different things.
Well, Aaron, how are you doing? Good to see you.
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's so great, and we were talking off camera. It was definitely at least 7 or 8 years since our first chat, and then we talked a little bit during the pandemic. So this is not you're coming on your 20-year anniversary for is it for West Ashley?
Yeah, West Ashley was the first tour, November of 2006.
How do you wrap your head around that?
It's really taken until I think recently, still till we started planning all this stuff. We knew it was coming up, but we started planning all this stuff around the 20th. I think that's definitely kicked up some, I don't know, some gratitude and some awareness about what's happened and what is happening that maybe wasn't there before because they're just not really paying attention to it, which has been a good thing for me. It's great to look around and go, wow, look at all these great people and all these folks that enjoy coming to our places and the community we built. And so
Yeah.
it's pretty good spot.
For any restaurant to be around 20 years is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is.
Really?
I have a buddy from growing up. His dad started business, pizza place over 50 years ago. And I just always looked at what they did and wow, that's some serious longevity. So to be at 20 is pretty amazing.
That's crazy. That's no, and I've only like from the people, there's different people. I was going to bring this up and I could bring this up later, but there's a guy who has, have you heard of Two Goose in Austin? Because
No,
it's a unique name. They have breakfast. It's a barbecue place, but they have breakfast and lunch. And he referenced you in the interview that I did, Aaron A Day. He referenced Home Team and said, we want to be, he like lived in Charleston. So he said, we want to be like the home team in Austin. So that was like that made me so happy that that people are looking at what you're doing. And we'll get into how you're different than other barbecue joints. But since we it's been so long since we spoke, can you give a quick little backstory as to how you got into this? So for people that might not have ever seen the first video.
yeah, make a long story relatively short. I was a cook. I cooked in college and cooked some in high school and decided towards the end of my college career that I wanted to go to culinary school. So I moved to Charleston for the first time and then went to the Culinary Institute of America up in Hyde Park. So, French classical training, white tablecloth, fancy food, there's all kinds of stuff at school, but that's what I wanted to do was cook high-end food. So that's kind of the path that I went on. I moved out to Aspen, Colorado when I graduated, cooking barbecue on the side. I didn't really know much about barbecue until I got to college. My parents were both from the Northeast. My dad's from New York City. My mother's from Washington, D.C. So, just wasn't a lot of barbecue in my upbringing. But when I got to Georgia, there was a whole bunch of barbecue going on. So got to start cooking some, eating a lot of different kinds, and got interested in it. I was cooking on the side when I was out in Colorado, working my high-end jobs. I worked at this casual place as a second job, just a burrito and taco place. And it really taught me that you could have, you can have really delicious food. It doesn't have to be on white tablecloth or, have all these expensive ingredients. And so I think that got me clicking some too. I stayed on that kind of high end path Moved to Charleston in 2002 again and got my first executive chef job. And then I just started looking at the whole fine dining scene, thinking about the things I like, which were, I love barbecue. I love live music. I love college football and sports, and just thinking about the rest of my life and how I was going to live it. And so I started doing barbecue. I was lucky enough to have a chef next door to a sister restaurant, had a smoker, let me use it for
Yeah.
various things. And I started doing a barbecue lunch on Fridays. And I think that really kind of, I was like, okay, I got something that people seem to like. And then a buddy of mine from college, Lindsay Nevin, came to me about possibly finding an old gas station and turning it into a restaurant. And so we found that Bunch's old gas station in West Ashley, and we turned it into the first Home Team Barbecue. So
What was the
yeah,
reception? I forget what you said. What was the reception at first? Was it gangbusters, or what? Did it take some time for people to
skepticism,
skepticism?
skepticism. I think that's the way, barbecue has changed so much. I'm sure we're going to talk about some here, but in the last 20 years, in 2006, there was mostly just family owned barbecue places that have been around here forever. I think there was a Jim and Nick's. I think there was a Sticky Fingers. That was right around the time they sold or something like that. Otherwise it was Melvin's and Messengers and
Yeah, the old
Duke's,
school.
old school stuff. And, people are very possessive about their barbecue and
Gosh,
their
they
style of
are
barbecue. That's one thing I learned in college. I learned that barbecue is not just a type of food. It is a culture for sure.
for sure.
And people are very bought into their styles. And so, we didn't pay much attention to regionality when we opened. We didn't even have a mustard based sauce, and we're sitting here in South Carolina. So we just did what we thought tasted good. And so, I think some people they just didn't, you gotta, it's just like anything else. You got to build trust. You got to
Hmm.
build trust with your customers and things like that. And, we were doing stuff a little differently, doing specials and doing tacos and doing, throwing vegetables in the smoker and just doing some different things that people weren't really used to do. I don't
Yeah.
think, particularly with their barbecue.
It's
And then,
funny.
of
It's funny,
course,
but I hate to interrupt you, but it's like to think about it this way, you guys were trailblazers. Like that's something. What you're talking about, what you guys do, is not common, but it's something that a lot of people do nowadays.
well, I always say, we weren't trying to be different.
Yeah.
I just think that we had a different approach because of our backgrounds. One of my operating partners, Taylor Garrigan, he started off in the kitchen with me at West Ashley. He came from a high end background as well. When we first opened, we had a lot of people working for us that had nighttime jobs at fancy restaurants and wanted to work with us during the day. It was just sort of like, I guess it was a little bit intentional because we wanted to do these
Hmm.
different things, but it was more out of, I think, being a little bit naive about
That helps.
we just talked about and how people receive stuff.
Yeah.
And we just felt like there was a lot more that we could do with the smoker. And a lot of the places that were around at that point in time were, they're pretty much meat and threes, and they're delicious and they have great tradition behind them and all that stuff. But we were just like, man, let's do some different stuff.
And I think I remember you saying too back in the day that what you wanted to do was to create something, a place that people can come multiple times in a week. That it wasn't something where if it's just one specific thing, then they could have it once a month or something, but or have it just on
There's only
special
so many
occasions.
times you can eat brisket in a
Yeah.
week, right?
Mhm.
With mac and cheese and hash and rice or something like that.
Yeah.
We didn't even have brisket when we first opened up, but that's another story. But I mean, like, it's just we wanted to make sure that everything that we put on the menu was well represented. Like, just no placeholders. If we're going to put a salad on the menu, it's going to be a really, really good salad that we're going to pay attention to. Different sandwiches, different takes on barbecue, those sorts of things. Appetizers. We wanted to make sure that everything on the menu was there for a reason. And then also, the ability to come in and, get a taco and a salad and roll on and not fall asleep at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The people who amaze me are the people who come in, clear a 3 meat platter at lunch on a Wednesday and then go back to work. I'd be face
Yeah.
down on the couch. So yeah, it was definitely intentional to kind of, we wanted to do more, but we also wanted to be, I think in general, we wanted to appeal to a larger demographic of people.
And
Uh,
travelers too, people coming through that it's an option because you guys are stay oh, your hours are different than most barbecue joints too, right?
Well, I think that's another thing that I was totally naive about. West Ashley was walk up, and that was the only restaurant that we opened that was walk up.
Oh,
And I didn't realize there was this whole walk up culture in barbecue. I didn't know much about Texas barbecue. Yeah, and so I think we were going. Well, first of all, we were going to be a bar and a barbecue place, which it just there wasn't much of that around at all in 2006. You couldn't go get barbecue and a beer at too many places, and certainly it wasn't a place that you were going to like sit around for 2 or 3 hours. So
yeah.
we were intentional about that. We were big college football fans, and so that definitely kicked up a different crowd. So we had all these little pieces of the day and all these things that we were trying to put together. And I think that's how that all came about. I mean, we had live music, so we were open till 2 o'clock in the morning sometimes.
That's true. You have to be.
You know, we just wanted to be open 7 days a week, and we wanted people to be able to come after 2 o'clock or whatever, and then trying not to sell out, which a lot of people try. I mean, finding that balance,
Hmm.
that's so. I think the hours thing was just more about us being more as available as possible to the public, and also kind of having enough time to do all the things that we wanted to do, which was kind of unorthodox.
Now with the other locations, when did you start opening those other locations? And was that always kind of the plan, or was that another night like thing? We just because I know the Aspen having a place in Aspen is interesting. Probably people there might be people a lot of people haven't even traveled to Aspen because it's not necessarily
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
But so
Well,
how did that what was the second location then?
yeah, the second location was Sullivan's Island.
Okay.
So Sullivan's Island is a little barrier island, 25 minutes from downtown Charleston. It's a lot of tourists out there. A lot of people live on the island. Obviously, Mount Pleasant is in between Sullivan's and Charleston. So it was different than West Ashley. West Ashley was kind of off on its own. Not a lot of people heading out there from a tourist standpoint, and so Sullivan's was something that came along that was not really intentional. We were kind of rolling along with the first store and trying to make money, which was sometimes worked, sometimes
Yeah.
didn't. We knew that it was maybe not the best location in the world, and we found this location on Sullivan's that was this old dive bar that everybody loved, and it had live music and a bunch of big local crowd. And one of my buddies was like, this would be a great fit for home team. And so that was really where things, I think that was a bit of a turning point, just with brand recognition. We also did table service out there. We felt like people
Wow.
were going to want to sit down for a long time. We started to see how people were using our restaurant, West Ashley, for all these different things. We were going to do live music out there as well. So, I just think we became more visible. So that second store was kind of like, I think we thought we were to open up another store at some point. We didn't know when it would be. I don't know if that was the best time. It turned out to be the best time. But we were certainly not. We didn't have like a whole bunch of growth plans in place,
Yeah.
and we never really have. It's just
Yeah.
been a sort of a feel thing
It
for
kind of
us.
sounds like it from every time I've talked to you. It sounds like it's just you keep your head down. That's why like 20 years has got like finally a chance to kind of look back and see what you've done. When did that Sullivan's Island store open? Was that 2 or 3 years
It
after?
opened in May of 2009,
Okay.
so we're 17 years old
Yeah.
there. And
Good.
I started Home Team West Ashley with Taylor Garrigan, as I mentioned before, and my good friend Tony Mackey, and then those guys were working for me, and then we needed somebody in the front of the house when we opened Sullivan's Island, hired Sean Danaher to be our GM, and then that's where we formed the partnership that exists today. So those are my three operating partners that have been
Gotcha.
pretty much by my side since the beginning.
That's nice to
So
have that too. That's kind of a unicorn type of thing too. That doesn't always work.
yeah, well, I mean, I don't think the growth that we have had would be possible without the people that make up our company. To me, there were two turning points. There was 2009 when we opened up Sullivan's Island, and I think that was just obviously you open up your second restaurant, and it's you can't be at the first restaurant all the time. You certainly can't be at the second one all the time. So you start having to depend on all these different people, and so I think that was part of the growth is giving people opportunities, us getting better. But we had 7 years between Sullivan's Island and our third restaurant, which was downtown.
Oh wow.
And then when downtown came around, I think we made some really intentional hires. And a lot of them have been around for since then and have worked their way up. Our director of operations, who's been our only director of operations, we promoted him in 2017, Adam Rothstein. He started out as our beverage manager in 2016, so he's been with us for 10 years. Our culinary director is John Banta. He's been with us for almost 10 years. Front of the house director has been Jamie Perillo, has been with us for 13. Both of their assistants have been with us for 10 and 13.
Wow,
So,
that's amazing.
our CFO really just started off doing our numbers back in 2007 or so. She's been with us for almost 20 years. It's just, I think that's what makes me feel good about growth.
Hmm.
I don't think if I'd feel as good about growth if there was a bunch of inconsistent personalities in our,
Oh, without a doubt.
and not from the standpoint of just being, it takes a while for people to trust you. And I think that's the biggest thing when people come and work for us, they at least, for good, bad, worse, whatever, what you're getting,
Hmm.
who the people are that run the company and what they're about. And we've been doing it together for a long time.
What's that downtown store like?
Downtown is incredible. I
Yeah,
mean, downtown was certainly probably our biggest labor of love. I mean, we had opened West Ashley, we had opened Sullivan's Island. We had a few more resources when we opened up downtown, so we were able to buy the property, get an SBA loan, and buy the property and
that's
get a
huge.
loan for. And so, it was like, wow, okay, this is our property. We've got this cool spot that was kind of a little bit off the beaten path. Back in the day, Williman Street and the northern end of downtown, they called it the neck. There wasn't a lot up here. And so we took a little bit of a chance and spread out. And, we made a big old courtyard, kind of Texas style with a bunch of picnic
Oh, that's
tables,
so cool.
a little outdoor stage, made out of shipping containers.
Uh,
And then, the biggest thing was probably, we built a 54-foot bar. And that place, we do live music down there from time to time. We changed the menu a little bit when we opened up that place. We were like, okay, we're downtown. We can do a few more of the things that we want to do and expand this a little bit more. It was really cool. We made a lot of great hires that we didn't know were going to be with us for so long that really shaped, I'd say the second 10 years of, it really is the second 10
yeah,
years of the first decade before downtown and then a decade since downtown. So downtown's, kind of what we consider, I guess, our flagship. West Ashley's the OG, and then, it's funny. People have their preferences.
no, I could imagine. I could imagine.
Like when we open up the second store, they'd be like, "Oh, there's no way we're going to Sullivan's Island," and vice versa. No way we're going to West Ashley. So, but downtown was a big turning point for us as well in terms of personnel and kind of our intentionality on what we wanted to do.
To quickly go back, with the name Home Team, is that because of sports?
You can actually see right over my
Oh, is that, yeah,
right
yeah.
here. There's a manifesto up on the wall. Let's see if I can get a little closer here. There we go.
It looks like a very important document.
That is the Home Team Manifesto. You can look it up online. There's a group of guys, I went to school at Athens, Georgia, a bunch of live music. I was really into live music. There
Is
was,
an REM from Athens or no?
yeah. Mostly we were following Widespread Panic and whatnot in the
Yeah,
90s.
exactly. Those guys, yeah.
Just developed a community around that, live music in general. And there was a couple of guys that just started this thing called Home Team. And it was just sort of you can see this other sign right here. It was just a block sign that the guy on the guitar has been added in. That's the lead guitarist from Widespread Panic that passed away. But it was just like a black and white box, Home Team. And they just started passing out stickers and they called it useless propaganda, but it was really just about art and community. The manifesto's got some really wonderful stuff in there that has inspired me over the years in terms of, everybody needs a home team, just because you don't agree with a certain home team, that doesn't mean you need to take away from it, just move on to the next thing. So it's kind of like, respecting people's approaches and things like that. And then certainly centered around community and art as well. So, I think in order to open up our first store, we had to raise money from like family and friends and anybody that had, was
Yeah.
interested in my food. We couldn't get a loan. So it felt right. Called those guys that started Home Team back in the day. It's never been like a money-making enterprise. I think eventually one of the gentlemen that helped start Home Team and was a big participant in it got on the crew, and they started passing a widespread panic and started passing around home team stickers and stuff like that. And I think when it started to grow, so I called those guys that started home team, and I was like, look, I'd love to use the name in my barbecue restaurant. They were like, yeah, we're all about it. That
Oh,
sounds
cool. Okay.
sounds cool. So and it's really kind of embodied us, I think, from a lot of aspects. Like you said, you know, your first thing was, you know, does it have something to do with sports? And it really doesn't, but it certainly works for that, you
Yeah.
know. So, but I think it more describes like just our general approach and the way we look at ourselves. That, you know, that we are one big team, and that we can take care of each other the same way we did when we had one restaurant, two restaurant, three restaurants, those sorts of things. So
I'll check out the manifesto online.
yeah, really honored to be able to carry that name, because it means a lot to me.
Thank you for that. I don't maybe think we got into that, or I wasn't mature enough to understand. But in fact,
Yeah. Well,
9 years ago, maybe, I don't know.
yeah. Everybody always asks that question, and it's fun
Yeah.
to explain.
The next
Sure.
location, was that Aspen or was it Greenville or
That was Aspen. So, you
Aspen?
know, everybody asks why Aspen, and sometimes I ask why Aspen myself. But you know, I spent 4 years in Aspen right after culinary school. So when I was out there, I, you know, grew to be very attached to that town. My
Gorgeous.
best friend from college, uh, Chris Lanner, went from Georgia over to France to learn how to cook, came back to Atlanta for a bit, moved out to Aspen. So he was already out there when I was out there. He hired me in 2000 to be his sous chef at a place called Cash Cash. We worked together, and, you know, just best friends. I was in his wedding, he's in mine. I'd go out there and visit every year. Then I started having kids, take the kids out there. And I don't know, probably about 2014 or so, he was like, man, Aspen really needs a place like Home Team. There's no good place to hang out and you know, and maybe spend a, you know, have a reasonably priced meal that's not, you know, an uptight fancy
Yeah.
place. And so he found this place at the base of Buttermilk Mountain, this hotel. And it's the only thing really at the base of the Buttermilk Mountain. And that's where they have the Winter X Games. So if you turn on your TV in January, you'll see that big old half pipe out there. That's about 100
Yeah.
yards from our back porch.
Okay.
So, you know, he found this place. It was turnkey. It was big kitchen, cool location, reasonable rent. You know, we kind of spent the summer kind of negotiating it. Downtown was kind of rolling, and we signed a lease in October of 2016 and opened it in December of 2016. It was a crazy open. I
Wow.
mean,
Yeah, that's a that
definitely
time.
our wildest open because
Yeah,
it was so
opening during
short.
Christmas time is definitely the holidays. Yeah.
Well, they wanted us to open in time for ski season because they're a hotel and they wanted to be, you know, have the amenity available. So,
Yeah.
and it's been off and running ever since. It's definitely COVID knocked us down out there a good bit. You know, labor
Yeah.
already it's, you know, it's a very transient town. People are in and out, and so it was already labor was already tough. And then we climbed back up, and yeah, that restaurant's turning 10 years old in December,
Yeah.
which is yeah,
Congratulations. That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah, and it's always weird when there's places like say places in Malibu, there's places in Aspen, or there's places that you know that people that work there, a lot of people can't live in the actual, like no one's gonna like have a $2 million house
yeah,
and then go work at like Ralph's or something, like a
yeah,
supermarket or something. So yeah, but so it's interesting. So it must be that's a challenge. But Aspen, I went there for a wedding and it was quite expensive to go there for a wedding, but it was
yeah.
gorgeous. We took it was during the spring, so we went up to, you know, you can't people mountain bike and stuff and hike
The next store
and
was
I keep
Columbia,
asking Columbia. Yeah.
2019,
Okay.
and we were actually looking in Greenville and Charlotte when the Columbia thing came about.
Okay.
And so we pivoted and did the thing in Columbia. And then the landlord that we've been talking to in Greenville stayed on us, and we kind of liked the prospects. And we said, okay, we need some time, you know, trying not to open stuff too quick and making sure we were prepared. So we actually got our permits to build Greenville the day after COVID hit, and the governor of our state made all the restrictions. So we had to wait until the fall of 2020 to start building. So we started building. We figured we'd get through the winter, which we knew would probably be tough from, you know, what was going on. And then by the time spring rolled around, we thought we'd be in a pretty good place and we could open. So we did. We opened in May of 2021. And we had already started looking at a place in Mount Pleasant, which is a suburb of Charleston, that we had just, I mean, I had been looking at it for 10 years. An old house on a great piece of property that is just, dirt, gravel parking lot, trees everywhere. That's what we liked. We liked that kind of natural
Yeah, that
landscape.
vibe
It was
is
just a
great.
big outdoor area. And so a friend of mine bought that land, and we renovated that place and opened it in 2022. So
You have
we
seven
had
that six locations or seven?
seven,
Seven.
seven. So four here in Charleston, in the Charleston area, Columbia, Greenville, and then Colorado.
Is
So
Columbia split in like west and the east, or is that how it's?
they do refer to to part of it as West Columbia.
Because there's somebody
Uh,
that's a restaurant that I know of a friend, and it's in West Columbia, and I'm like, like I did it. I posted something one time, and some guy's like, it's West Columbia. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't, it's Columbia. People are
yeah,
very
well,
uh,
yeah, we're in 5 Points in
okay.
Columbia, which is Columbia is a college town, and so there's a lot happening down there.
Wow, I'd like to go to all those locations. They all sound very unique to what they are. They're not the same. So you're getting the bones are all this. I mean, like the soul is the same, but you're getting
Yeah, I mean that's what we try to do is try to it's we're kind of like a starter log, I
uh-huh.
mean, you know,
That makes
uh,
sense.
since we're talking about barbecue, like a fat soaked piece of butcher paper, and that's what we are. And so when we go somewhere, we kind of try to put our culture in there as much as we can, much of an influence on people, even if it's people that have worked in our other places before that we're able to give promotions to. But and then the community kind of takes the ball and runs with it. I mean, everybody uses us for different things. Sullivan's Island is just crazy in the summertime. It's just there's all time. Everybody's just having fun from 11 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. Mount Pleasant's a little bit more family oriented because where it sits. Same with West Ashley, but at the same time, there's families everywhere. I mean, families are our core, and then just I think we've never looked for a cookie cutter type of place. We like taking something old and making it into something cool. We've only built one store from the ground up. Really, I mean, downtown was a lot of work, but we had an existing building, we had an existing footprint. So I don't think we've tried to make every one of them different. They
Mhm.
just, they just come to us in different forms, I guess.
Yeah, no, and it evolves. No, it's funny because I'm sure there's people watching and listening to this too. Like I drive by places, I'm like, that would make a great barbecue joint. Like it's just like if it's kind of funky,
Yeah.
kind of weird, or like what if that was a barbecue joint? So you've kind of been able to do that for real. Now, I want to get into like the charities and I want to get into your menu because I want people to know what you guys serve because it's not a traditional barbecue menu. But what do you guys, is there number 8 or 9 coming, or is that just kind of if the seed
I think
keeps
well,
planted?
it's interesting. We opened in 2006, and we did one in 2009. We had 7 years until we opened downtown, and then we opened, including downtown, we opened 5 restaurants in like 7 years. And
Yeah.
since we opened Mount Pleasant in 2022, having just gone through COVID, having just opened 2 restaurants post COVID, we were ready for a break, and we also wanted to make sure that our company was in a good spot, and then
Hmm.
that everybody had all the resources that they needed to be successful, and that we were paying attention to what we already had and making sure that it was consistent and in quality. Because as you know, I mean, in consistency, if you don't have it in the
Wow.
restaurant business, you're done. And
Hmm.
so, we just, really focused on that. Said, you know what, we'll open another restaurant when we're ready. I think we're getting close.
Okay.
It's my wife said to me once, we were just sitting on the couch. She said, "How many of these are you going to do?" And I said, I think a lot of it depends on the people that work for you. The bigger your company gets, the less you're the boss, sort of.
Yeah.
The people that put in the work every day and have been here as long as they had, that they get a seat at the table in terms of what they want to handle. And so I'm not going to put anything on their plate without their blessing. and we'll all sit down in a room as a group, as an ops crew, and say everything that's on our mind. And if we decide we want to move forward, we'll move forward with something else. But I imagine we'll do something at some point. There's
Yeah.
just there too. The great thing about opening more restaurants, and what I told my wife that day was like, she's like, how many more these are going to do? And I was like, I don't know. It sure is nice to not lose people and be able to find places for them to move up
Yeah, that's good.
and
Yeah.
allow them to get what they need in their career under the roof that you've already built, and not have to train new people. And of course we have to train new people all the time, but that core,
The core people. Yes.
yeah, we make mistakes every day, just like everybody else. But I think everybody in our company knows how everybody else is going to react to those
Mhm.
mistakes, and it allows them to move on and correct their mistakes. And at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing. It's like, do we learn from what we did wrong,
Yeah.
and can we move on to the next step? So
That's life.
yeah, so opening restaurants for us is obviously, it's a financial thing. We like opening restaurants. We like forming new teams. That's something that a lot of our folks are into, and then we like planning restaurants. We like designing them. We've
It's
got a great
exciting, probably. Yeah.
We've, we've worked with the same interior designer since we opened in 2006. Who was one of my best friends, Jenny Keenan. We have a gentleman in Athens, Georgia, that helps us out with our materials that we met right before downtown. And so, it's
That's cool.
fun to put all these things on the
Hmm.
walls, and mess around with all these materials and create a new team. And
Yeah.
uh,
And now
it,
you're taking care of families, and that kind of leads into have you all from the beginning, were you giving back to the community? Was that something that was very important?
again, not intentional.
Hmm.
I think I was totally focused on opening up a restaurant, trying to make
Hmm.
the restaurant work and put money in the bank and paying our people and paying our bills and
True.
all that stuff. And I think, the charitable world, most of the time they're making money from or creating exposure from the events that they put on.
Hmm.
And so all of those events need a food component. And so that's why in the restaurant industry, that's why we all get asked to
True.
do so many things. I mean, we can't do them all, but you get asked to do all these things, and you start going, oh, okay, well, that sounds fun. I'll create a dish for that. You get out there, you serve, you know, hundreds of people food who've never had your food before, don't even know who you are.
Hmm.
You're doing it all for a good cause. And so we just started to see, I swear we could feel the results of that. When we did events, we'd see our business kick up, the next couple of weeks. I think we gained a lot of first time customers by how many times we've put ourselves out there. I mean, as you know, from talking to all these guys, I mean,
Yeah.
the event circuit is real,
It's very
especially when
real.
you're starting off. A lot of us have slowed down over the years. I
I think
remember for a
a
while,
good chunk of you
I
guys
was like,
have.
Sam, when are you home, man? He was just all over the place.
Yeah, I think he was like 300, it was like 280 days a year. It was something crazy back in the
Yeah,
day. Yeah.
it's kind of like being on tour, but it was great to do all these things with all these people in our business
Hmm.
and watch how it helped. That's kind of how we got into hogs and whatnot. It's just it's something that grew on us, and then we realized that it's probably the best form of advertising that you could possibly have, and really not from just the standpoint of your customers, but for your employees as well. I think
That's very true.
our employees have really gotten into, especially on the upper end, the folks that really put in the time at the top to filter through all the things that are out there,
Yeah.
and to really care about the things that are important to me and my partners, and then carry that through. The most amazing thing is to watch that get carried through to the whole employee base, and people are very enthusiastic about the stuff that we do, and I think they feel good about it, and I think it just feels good. It
Yeah.
feels good. I mean, we I always say, especially now, we don't take for granted our ability to help people,
Hmm.
and I think everybody, it's charities work straight up.
Yeah.
People are getting into charity to kind of like feel all fluffy and all the time, and oh, I'm doing this. Yeah, that's great. All the people that write checks, but the people that put on the events, that organize stuff, it's just like anything else.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you're organizing an event to make money or you're organizing an event for charitable donations. I mean, holy smokes is a business. I mean, it's like we gotta we
It
we
has
gotta
to
pay
be.
pay all of our expenses and everything and all those things in order to create a profit that we can donate to the causes that we want to support. So it's
Oh,
you know it's an interesting piece, but I don't think any of us really think twice. Well, I won't say we won't think twice about it sometimes because it is so much work and
yeah.
there is so much going on. But we love it, and we love the effect that we're able to have and make on our community, and we love the relationships that we've been able to create in our communities because of the things that we do.
Yeah. No, and a lot of barbecue people that I talk to, they have lifelong friendships because of these events and the times that they've spent with people, trying to create revenue for these charities. It's interesting too. So holy smokes, that's your festival. That is November, right?
Yeah, that's it's a Charleston Barbecue Festival
Hmm.
in November. So oh, I don't we have about 40, 50 pit masters and chefs from
Uh,
across the country. Let's see, I think this year will be our sixth year.
six
Um,
years. Wow, time goes
yeah.
by fast.
Yeah, that's one that is an interesting took an interesting turn. We wanted to start a barbecue festival here in Charleston back in like 2014 or so. But honestly, we really didn't have time, I don't think.
Yeah.
And really, I don't think we kind of gotten to the place that we needed to be to do something like that.
Mhm.
But we went down to Hogs for the Cause for the first time in New Orleans, and big barbecue festival in New Orleans, 90 barbecue teams. It had grown from a backyard thing into this amazing New Orleans festival with all this great music. And as you know, people in New Orleans, they get into stuff more than most of us.
Yeah.
And it was such a cool event, and it was such a cool cause. Um, and we kind of got distracted by the cause as opposed to learning how to do our own barbecue festival. And so we got into Hogs for the Cause and went back every year. And then when we finally started planning our barbecue festival with Anthony from Swig and Swine and some other members of the community, we were like, okay, this needs to benefit Hogs for the Cause. So it's kind of full circle thing. It's basically a charity that helps out families with children with pediatric brain cancer. And so
Tough.
they started out just giving grants to families that needed the money because they're running all over the place, taking their kids to children's hospitals. They don't,
Too much.
gas money, it's hotel money, it's I got to pay the electric bill because I wasn't at work the other day. Those types of things, and they have just grown that. And we've watched them grow. We started coming in 2014, so it's right when they started to get big, and we watched them raise $1 million, $2 million, $4 million, and I think they raised over seven last year,
Crazy.
which is just insane. And they've started giving huge donations to children's hospitals.
Hmm.
They built Hogs houses, which are very similar to Ronald McDonald House. It's a place where families can stay while their children's are being
Because
their
that's
while their
so hard.
children
Yeah.
are treated. So it's just, I mean, they built an oncology unit, helped to build an oncology unit up in Greenville Children's Hospital, Prisma Children's. It's like, and it's just got so much great energy. Like, if you ever get a chance to get down to New Orleans for Hogs, you will be blown away.
I
And
want to
anybody
know.
that comes will be blown away. It's such a cool event, great music, and it's just the enthusiasm around. I mean, there's the barbecue competition thing, which I've never really gotten into, but the way that everybody does and constructs their tents. Tents is an understatement. I mean, people build stuff with scaffolding. They build.
I didn't know.
There's one group that they built an entire riverboat. Just like,
Oh, I gotta
and so
go.
it's just a really cool event. It's a great
Mhm.
cause. It's got great longevity. We really love Becker and Renee and Zandy and the guys, all the folks that run that. And we built a great friend community out of that festival itself.
Mhm.
I met Carrie Bringle down there. I met, one of the first times I really hung out with Rodney for a long time. Just there's just so many good people around there, and it's just a great festival.
Yeah.
So
And I'll go. It's in Aprilish, March, April, kind of like.
yes, end of March, beginning of
Okay.
April. it was
Yeah.
later than it ever been this year. So
Okay.
like the
I'll
second.
I'll put links to your festival as well as that because those are but there's a lot of things people can go to but at least like they can put it in the back of their mind as just something to do. And if I'm living in Houston, I'm not that far away from New Orleans, am I? I'm
That's
not.
right.
Yeah. I can
Yeah, you
drive there as opposed
are.
be like driving to San Diego or something. Probably. But so let's talk about you because we've talked almost for 45 minutes or so. Let's talk like briefly explain how what your menu is about. And is it different from shop store to store or is it essentially the same?
Now it's pretty much the same store to store. There are a
Okay.
few differences, subtle differences here and there, just because of how our kitchens are set up and what we're able to do.
Makes sense.
Aspen serves breakfast, but because we're in a hotel,
Yeah.
but our menus are very similar these days, and that's intentional. We
Hmm.
want to shore everything up, and
Makes sense.
but I think, as I said before, the menu is really built around not having any rules, and other than make stuff taste good. And so, um, we have the traditional part of our menu, which is the sandwiches and platters, and then we have a couple special, kind of different sandwiches on our menu. We got like a smoked turkey burrito, which is really good with like, an anchovy vinaigrette and, a bunch of different veggies and things like that. That's really delicious. And then lots and lots of specials like we do. We're very well. I think part of the thing is that, from my experience and my internship at a place called Nava in Atlanta, which was upscale Southwestern Mexican, and Taylor being from El Paso, we kind of had this Mexican Southwestern approach to barbecue, that we wanted to put into motion without being really aware how much that was already occurring in Texas.
Uh-huh.
The breakfast tacos and all the different, just putting barbecue in the place of, it was just so seamless. We
It
thought,
makes
and
all the sense. It does.
it makes tons of sense. There's a bunch of different kinds of salsas and things with
Yeah.
acid to offset,
The
pickled veg
unctuous.
to
Yeah, yeah.
offset proteins, and
Uh-huh.
all these, cool salsas. And so that was part of it too. And I think that's still in us, sort of that Tex-Mex, Southwestern, authentic Mexican approach to barbecue. We're big fans of vegetables, and we didn't feel like a barbecue restaurant needed to be a place where you couldn't get good vegetables,
Mhm.
and a good salad. And so, we constructed it that way. And then the appetizers, um, you know, if you told me that nachos and wings were going to be our top sellers back when I started the barbecue restaurant in 2006, I'd probably be pretty disappointed. Just like that's not what we were after. But I take so much pride in that what we created. I mean, nachos are probably my favorite thing on the menu. I love to have a taco. I love to have a salad when I go into the restaurant. So we just wanted to be, again, sort of, well-rounded,
Yeah.
and if you look at our proteins, the brisket was something that came along, really about 2014 or so. We took a trip to Texas. We've been messing around with it some, but nobody was serving brisket. We took a trip to Texas, went to 10 barbecue restaurants in 72 hours, almost killed ourselves, and came back really inspired
Yeah,
and
yeah.
wanting to do brisket, and wanting to do Texas style brisket. And now everybody's got brisket.
Yeah. In your backyard, there's a guy that does it. Things like
Yeah, but
that.
yeah, just proteins are just like built by our feelings on wanted, what we thought tasted good. We do dry rub ribs, it's kind of Memphis style. We add a little pepper vinegar to our pork butts, so that's a little bit of Eastern North
Yeah.
Carolina style. So it's just we're kind of all over the map, and we've always been that way. And I think that was kind of unintentional as well. It's just like, hey, you know, I think this tastes good.
But now it's
And
intention. Now it's intentional because that's what makes you special is that it's unexpected, but it works. It makes sense. And like when I just looked at a picture of your nachos today, I was looking at a bunch of photos, and it looked gorgeous. It didn't look like how people think of nachos like at a movie theater or a ball game or something. It's like it's a feast. It looked gorgeous with meat on. Yeah,
yeah, and just paying attention to every component.
yeah,
It's not like I think we've learned over the years, like, we can get better in every spot.
Yeah.
So keep fine tuning things. And yeah, those nachos are good.
Yeah, that looks nice. It gives you it gives you another like I have definitely I cannot wait to visit Charleston, but then the outer areas that you because there's I have friends that in general that live in places that you've mentioned all these different places and like Greenville I watched a YouTube thing on Greenville. It looked like really cool with like a bike like has like a bike not trail but like a I don't know.
Yeah.
It just looked
Smart rabbit
very
trail.
yeah. And this all these places that it's what where you put yourself makes sense. They all fit the area, and I could see a home team almost anywhere. But obviously, you're not going to put one in New York or LA. But it just makes sense. It just makes sense.
Well, and then I think the biggest thing too with our menu and this talk about food and regionality. I mean, and I just said it with the brisket. I mean, now the regional lines have blurred
Yeah.
greatly over the last 20 years. We've watched them blur. We've
Hmm.
watched, people do different. I mean, just look at Charleston right now. I mean, we got Hector Garata, we got John Lewis, we got Rodney's coming back. I know he will,
He will.
just a matter of time. And Anthony, and all these different people cooking different kinds of barbecue just in this town.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. That it's really cool to see, to pull up Instagram these days, or whatever you look at, for food inspiration, and see all the people around you doing these things, and you see how the whole cycle goes.
Yeah.
I guess we were kind of innovative at the time, but now we're kind of like the old guard.
Kinda.
We're getting lapped by some of these people, because that's why you got to stay on your toes. But people are just doing a really good job of being creative, and I think that just breaking down the boundaries of that barbecue presented
Yeah.
back in the day.
And even
Yeah,
though
it's
I haven't visited Charleston, I've often told people that Charleston is a destination to go on a barbecue tour. You can go around a bunch of different places, have a bunch of different food that's regional to their or to their cultural, like it's someone's specific culture or regional. And then also it'd be a beautiful drive everywhere you go, right? It would just be
yeah.
because it's different than because Charleston, from what I've seen and what I've heard, it's a different type of city than most cities.
Well, until Rodney had to shut down a little bit ago. I mean, us, John Lewis, and Rodney were all within walking distance.
That's what I've,
So
yeah.
you think about those three places. I mean, Rodney cooked some of the best whole hog in the country.
Yeah.
Awesome spare ribs. He's got a different style. It's got a completely, coal fired barbecue, which is really, really good and really
Mhm.
hard to do. And then you got John next door, came in from Texas, and just put the beef thing on the map here, and kind of walk up place, certainly Texas style. And then you
Yeah.
got us that we're kind of all over the map. We're a sit down place,
Well, you have King Barbecue too.
yeah. And then you got King. I forgot about Swy up there at
Yeah.
King. Um, doing his he's obviously a Chinese background and
Yeah.
kind of that influence.
He kept
That's a
saying like
great.
China, kept saying like Chinatown barbecue meets like Southern or was like Carolina style barbecue. Yeah.
But these things are cool, man.
It's
Like,
the
I mean,
coolest.
there's no reason not to not put those kind of
It
influences
makes
on.
all this. It makes so sense. It's yeah.
I mean, we did this Italian dinner, for Charleston, wine and food, a few beers back with our buddies, from Memphis, Michael Hudman and Andy Ticer, and also, uh, yeah, and we we did an Italian dinner that was all based off open fire and smoking and
Oh,
all
that's so
these things.
great.
It was so fun to do, because really barbecue works
Hmm.
in any medium, any
That is a
cuisine.
style that really has it. Like you don't see people combining Italian with
And was it, is it Loro in Austin,
mhm.
Aaron Franklin's
Yeah.
place? They're doing some fusion there. That's been
Yeah.
around for a
Oh
while
yeah.
now.
That's got
Uh,
like yeah, it's got a lot of like Vietnamese,
yeah,
Chinese. Yeah. Well, actually, I just went there in April for the first time, and I was blown away. Everything was
yeah.
killer. Yeah. and the drinks match. Like the drinks are funky, so it matches the food. Yeah, that place was packed. Like it
Yeah.
was packed.
It's neat to look around us too. I think Pat Martin's turning 20 this year.
Oh,
I
that's
think
true.
Southern Soul. I think Fox Brothers turned 20 next year. So, it's crazy. We used to think of ourselves as, we had mentors in this business.
Hmm.
We had the guys that have been, Mike Mills,
Hmm.
is a great example, a guy that had been on the circuit forever, that was always at these events, and we looked up to these
Oh
people.
yeah.
And I think that like anything else, the people around you shape
Hmm.
the way that you build your business. And so it's kind of cool to look around and see all these people that I kind of grew up with in the barbecue business, still kicking butt and
Yeah,
doing their
Southern
thing.
Soul. I forgot about them. That's how far away is that from Charleston?
Southern Soul is about 4 hours away, and I mostly know this because we bought a lot of our pits from Lang Smokers in Brunswick,
Are
Georgia,
they
which
out
is
there?
right there next to St.
Okay, yes,
Scott.
okay. So Southern Soul is
We
it
would kind of
it's
make it a tradition, when we would go pick up a new smoker. We'd go see Harrison and Griffin and Southern Soul, and
uh,
another, all these guys are great groups. I mean, Harris and Griffin have been doing a charity event down there called Firebox. It's had different iterations, but they've been doing that for years. That
yeah.
was always a fun get together for all of us. I wish I could make it all the events, but you
Yeah.
got
But those guys have been always
teenagers.
so nice to me, like this random guy in Los Angeles, but they've always been so kind, super kind. Yeah, like just like you.
Yeah, a
Like
lot of kind people
mhm.
and giving people in the
Yeah.
in the barbecue business, and I don't think that's unique. I think that the food and beverage industry in general, you have a lot of
Hmm.
kind people who understand that there are folks around that need certain things, and they're really giving with their time and their creativity. So it's a good
Well,
community to be a part of.
great community. Well, thank you so much. I was going to ask you this, but I don't know how much time you have. I was just going to ask you, what are your favorite not barbecue restaurants in Charleston?
Oh gosh,
Like a couple.
I think one of my favorite restaurants that you don't hear as much about is the Grocery, which is Kevin Johnson's place. It's just delicious. It's wonderful food. His treatment of vegetables is just amazing.
Grocery, okay.
We love Mike Lotta's restaurants, Ordinary and Fig. The Indigo Road restaurants, and Daco is one of our favorite Italian restaurants. I mean, there's so many good restaurants in
Yeah.
Charleston, and we've watched. That's the other thing about the last 20 years is just watching this town turn into what it's turned into, and it's really just it's like a little New York City in terms
Yeah.
of you can go get whatever you want, any type of cuisine, and there's a quality place out there or multiple quality
Hmm.
places. So it's a really great place to be, Charleston's.
Yeah, I always see
Uh,
like pictures of baked goods or just like it's a pretty amazing what yeah, what's coming out of there. And there's people that are really passionate about what they do in Charleston.
Yeah, for sure, no
Yeah.
doubt. It's got
Well,
a great food and bev community.
well, thank you, Aaron, so much. And I cannot wait to visit you in person. This will be actually my chance to this fall to actually see you in person. But thank you so much for taking the time. Is there anything we missed about Home Team that you want to tell people or
Yeah, no, just I guess it's just again, I just go back to the people thing.
mhm.
I just that's the people. The people are the ones that determine how far you go.
Yeah.
And so we're just very grateful for the team that we have and the people around us. And it's it's not always a bowl of cherries to come to work every day. But man, it sure is great. Like going through COVID and doing all those challenging things during that time, I couldn't imagine doing it with anybody else but the people I did it with.
Wow.
And because it was some serious crap. It was
Yeah.
like war. It was,
It was
and
war.
to know that you could look around. I know how I was never in the military or anything like that. I played on the porch growing up, but when you look around the room and you see people and you see the look in their eyes and you know how much they care about what they're doing, it's a lot easier to overcome those challenges.
Mhm.
So I'm just grateful for my people, and all the people that have supported us over the years.
Wow. Well, thank you. Well,